If you've tried everything, doctors, diets, meditations, even prayer, and you're still in pain, this message is for you. Because maybe what's hurting isn't your body, maybe it's your soul. There's a kind of pain that hides in silence, one that no scan can detect and no pill can cure. It's the weight behind your fatigue, the ache in your chest when nothing's physically wrong, the restlessness that follows you even when everything seems fine. That's the pain of disconnection, the soul's cry for real healing. 9 centuries ago, a woman named Saint Hildegard of Bingen saw what modern science is only beginning to suspect, that many illnesses are not just physical disorders, but spiritual blockages. She believed the body was not separate from the soul, but its mirror. And when the soul is ignored, the body begins to break. Saint Hildegard was not just a nun, she was a visionary, a natural healer, and one of the first voices in history to speak of emotional pain as the root of physical illness. Her remedies were not just herbs, they were sacred. Her music wasn't just sound, it was therapy for the spirit. Her teachings, once buried by time, are now returning, just when the world needs them most. So if nothing heals you, try what she taught 900 years ago, because true spiritual healing begins where most treatments end. In the forgotten space between the body and the divine. Stay with me until the end. What you'll learn may awaken something you've been missing for years. You wake up tired, your body aches for no reason. Doctors run tests, but everything comes back normal. Still, something feels wrong. And maybe it's been that way for years. There's a kind of illness that doesn't start in the bloodstream or the muscles. It begins deeper, in the places medicine rarely looks. This is what Saint Hildegard of Bingen understood centuries before psychology or neuroscience even existed. She believed that when the soul is neglected, when it's overwhelmed by fear, guilt, grief, or spiritual emptiness, it begins to leak its suffering into the body. You see, Hildegard didn't treat people like broken machines. She saw them as sacred ecosystems, where emotions, thoughts, spirit, and biology all danced together. And when that dance fell out of rhythm, sickness emerged. Today, we often separate mind and body. We treat anxiety with pills, we treat fatigue with caffeine, but the root stays buried. The invisible root, the one that lives in your inner silence, your repressed pain, your unmet spiritual needs. Saint Hildegard called it a divine imbalance. She wrote that unseen wounds of the heart could poison the bloodstream of the soul, manifesting as everything from migraines to depression, joint pain to digestive issues. And this isn't just medieval poetry. Modern studies in psychosomatic illness and trauma-informed healing echo her truth. Many people carry emotional burdens that physically damage their immune systems, organs, and nervous systems, without ever realizing the connection. Think about it. Have you ever experienced pain that worsens with stress? A sickness that flares when you feel unseen or unloved? That's not coincidence. That's your soul whispering for attention. Hildegard taught that true healing isn't about suppressing symptoms. It's about restoring spiritual harmony. She used music, sacred chants, herbal medicine, and prayer not just to treat, but to realign the human being with a divine source. She saw illness as a message, not a punishment, a divine invitation to reconnect, to awaken, to feel again, to forgive. So if you've ever been carrying pain that no one can name, you're not broken. You're out of rhythm. And rhythm can be restored. You're not alone in this silent suffering. Millions walk around spiritually dehydrated, mistaking chronic fatigue for laziness, emotional numbness for normalcy, and constant physical pain for just stress. But it's more than stress. It's spiritual hunger. And Saint Hildegard came to feed that hunger with divine medicine, not found in pharmacies, but in the sacred connection between you and the light that still lives within you. Saint Hildegard never saw the body as separate from the stars. To her, the human being was not just flesh and bones, but a living reflection of the universe, an echo of divine intelligence woven into form. And when that sacred alignment was disturbed, the body suffered, not because it failed, but because it was calling for balance. She wrote of a force she called Via Ditas Latium, for greening power. It was a spiritual vitality that flows through plants, planets, and people, a life force that animates all creation. When this force is strong, the body when it fades, illness appears. Modern science might call this bioenergetics or cellular vitality. But Hildegard centuries ago already understood. Healing is not mechanical, it is harmonic. She saw that your heart, your breath, your emotions, all moved in rhythm with the cosmos. And when your life disconnected from that rhythm, through stress, guilt, overwork, loss of faith, your body became confused. The immune system, digestion, and even sleep patterns could fall into disarray. But she didn't blame the body. She listened to it. She wrote, "Man is a microcosm. Within him flows the wisdom of the stars." In other words, your body knows the truth, and it longs to return to divine harmony. Hildegard taught that true health comes from restoring this alignment, from stepping back into the sacred pulse of creation, not just through medicine but through music, rest, prayer, nature, and spiritual awareness. Imagine your body as an instrument. When it's in tune, it sings. When it's out of tune, it screams. Most people try to silence the scream with noise, distractions, pills, routines. But Hildegard said, listen to the scream. It's the soul trying to bring you home. She believed that even the colors around us, the seasons, the moon, and the earth's cycles were part of our healing rhythm. And when you ignore them, when you live without sunlight, when you forget to breathe, when you never pause, your soul withers. This is why modern life feels so exhausting to so many. Because the modern world is not in rhythm. But you can be. You can begin to realign, not by running, but by returning. Returning to silence, to nature, to your breath, to that soft pulse of life that's always been inside you. Saint Hildegard's vision wasn't mystical poetry, it was a healing map. One that modern seekers are rediscovering, not because it's fashionable, but because nothing else is working. And if nothing heals you, maybe it's time to realign with the cosmos again. Saint Hildegard didn't separate nutrition from spirituality. To her, food was medicine. But not just for the body. It was a way to nourish the soul, realign with the divine, and invite healing energy into every cell. She believed that what you eat becomes what you feel, that food holds vibration of frequency, and that some foods lift the soul while others darken it. Her approach was simple, sacred, and deeply intuitive. No calorie counting, no restriction, just harmony. One of her most powerful recommendations was spelt in ancient grain she called the most wholesome of all. She wrote that it produces good blood and makes the spirit of man light and cheerful. Spelt strengthens the gut, calms inflammation, and stabilizes the nervous system. But more than that, it brings inner steadiness, the kind you feel after deep prayer. Another key remedy in her teachings was fennel. Hildegard praised it for its ability to cleanse the digestive system, but also to purify the mind. She believed a clear gut led to a clear spirit. Science now confirms that the gut and brain are intimately connected, but she already knew. She also revered chestnuts, using them to support emotional healing and cardiovascular strength. Chestnuts, in her view, fortified the heart, not just physically, but emotionally. She often prescribed them for those burdened with grief, loneliness, or emotional exhaustion. And her remedies weren't limited to herbs. She taught that simple broths, herbal infusions, gentle spices, and seasonal fruits could all restore vitality when consumed mindfully. For her, healing didn't come in a bottle. It came through reverence, the way you gather, prepare, and bless your food. Hildegard believed the act of eating should be sacred, a prayer, a communion between the earth and the soul. She warned against processed, overstimulating, or excessively cold foods, which she believed dulled both digestion and spirit. She emphasized balance, warm meals, grounding textures, and ingredients that echoed the rhythms of nature. This wasn't just about health, it was about returning to spiritual order. And here's the truth. Most people today eat out of habit, stress, or escape. They consume food with their minds elsewhere, scrolling, rushing, numbing, and then they wonder why they feel empty. Saint Hildegard's wisdom invites something radical: to eat as if your soul depends on it, to heal through intention, not intensity. So if nothing heals you, look at what you're feeding your spirit, not just your stomach. Because sometimes the cure isn't hidden in a rare plant or expensive treatment. Sometimes it's in a warm bowl of spelt porridge, prepared slowly, with love. Sometimes the answer is ancient, and maybe it's been on your plate all along. Saint Hildegard believed that healing isn't only about what you eat or think, it is about what you absorb, even in silence. She taught that sound and light are not passive experiences. They are forces, sacred instruments that, when used properly, can rewire the soul. Her visions revealed that the universe itself sings, that creation is filled with divine music, and the human soul responds to that vibration like a string tuned to a greater instrument. In her view, pain, whether physical or emotional, often results from dissonance, from being out of tune with divine resonance. Hildegard composed dozens of chants and melodies, each one infused with healing frequencies she claimed were given to her directly by the divine. Her music wasn't written to entertain, it was medicine. Modern sound healers are only now discovering what she intuitively knew. That vibrational therapy, music, humming, chanting, and even specific frequencies can reduce anxiety, stabilize heart rate, soothe inflammation, and balance the nervous system. Listening to her chants, even today, produces a strange calm, a sense of being held. It's not just music, it's a return to rhythm. But Hildegard also spoke of light as a healing force. She described seeing divine light that entered the body like honey into water, dissolving tension, lifting heaviness. She believed that light was alive, and when we live too long in artificial spaces, disconnected from sunlight, candlelight, and celestial rhythms, our soul dims. She encouraged exposure to the sunrise, not just for the body, but to awaken the spirit. She suggested lighting candles with intention, as symbols of clarity, purification, and warmth for the inner self. She even believed certain colors emitted frequencies that affected the emotions. Blue for peace, green for growth, gold for divine joy. This may sound poetic, but modern phototherapy and chromotherapy are now validating these claims. We are sensitive beings, tuned to light and sound far more than we admit. So if nothing heals you, ask yourself, what sounds fill your life? What light touches your skin? Are you surrounded by chaos, noise, distraction? Do you wake to the glow of screens instead of the rising sun? Do you sit under cold bulbs instead of stepping into natural light? Saint Hildegard would say, you don't need more medicine, you need more music, more sunlight, more moments where your soul feels heard and illuminated. Because healing isn't always about doing more, sometimes it's about receiving, and sound and light are among the purest gifts creation has ever offered. We live in a world of advanced diagnostics, pills for every symptom, and specialists for every organ. And yet, people are sicker, more anxious, and more spiritually numb than ever. Because modern medicine treats the body, but often forgets the soul. Saint Hildegard of Bingen saw this coming, centuries before the first stethoscope was ever invented. She warned that a time would come when healing would be reduced to mechanics, where symptoms would be suppressed, but roots would be ignored. And that time is now. Doctors today are trained to find what's broken, not what's misaligned. They scan bones and blood, but they don't ask about the buried grief, the spiritual emptiness, or the chronic lack of joy that quietly erode a person's health. They treat migraines with injections, not realizing those headaches may be years of unspoken resentment screaming for release. She didn't see disease as an enemy. She saw it as a messenger, a signal that something deeper needed to be heard, that the soul had gone unheard for too long. She wrote, when the soul is distressed, the body weeps. Today, that weeping shows up as chronic fatigue, autoimmune conditions, digestive disorders, anxiety, and depression, conditions that don't respond to standard treatment because their origin is spiritual. This doesn't mean modern medicine is useless. Far from it. It has saved lives, performed miracles, and advanced human longevity. But it also has blind spots, especially when it comes to sacred healing. Hildegard believed that real healing comes when the body, mind, and soul are treated as one whole being, not as separate systems. She used herbs to calm inflammation, music to ease the spirit, and prayer to reconnect the patient with divine light. None of her remedies were meant to replace medicine. They were meant to complete it. And here's the truth many are afraid to say. Modern healthcare is excellent at managing disease, but often terrible at restoring meaning. And without meaning, healing can't last. This is why so many people feel like nothing is working, because no one is treating the invisible wound, the wound of disconnection, the ache of living without alignment, purpose, or inner stillness. Saint Hildegard offered something revolutionary, a reminder that healing is not just a science. It's a relationship between the human and the divine, between your soul and your daily choices. So if nothing heals you, maybe you're not looking for another prescription. Maybe you're looking for a path back to wholeness. And Hildegard's path begins exactly where most doctors stop. If you've reached this point, it means something inside you still believes in healing. Not just survival, but real, deep, soul-level restoration. Saint Hildegard didn't offer magic. She offered remembrance, a return to the rhythms we lost in the noise of modern life. The rhythm of sacred food, of healing sound, of cosmic light, and of listening to the body as a divine teacher. You don't need to abandon everything. You only need to reconnect. Because when nothing heals you, it's often the soul that's starving. And the soul doesn't want more noise. It wants presence, it wants beauty, it wants meaning. Hildegard's healing path wasn't just about herbs or chants, it was about awakening. Reclaiming the harmony between body, mind, and spirit that you were born with. So today, begin again. Eat slowly. Sit with the sun. Breathe with intention. Let music carry your pain upward. And if this message spoke to something you've long ignored, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. Subscribe for more healing wisdom from the saints who saw what we've forgotten. Because healing is real, and your journey is just beginning.